pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We will now move to citizen speak. Per select board rules, we have 21 total minutes for citizen speak. Every individual is asked to limit their time to 3 minutes so that others can speak if they want to, and we are fair and equitable. We have one person who signed up on it here in person, and I'm not going to be able to read the last name. Quietek, is it? Ms. Quietek. So you are up. I will give you a 30-second warning when you have 30 seconds left in your time. And I'm sorry for my inability to read your signature.
Good evening. I'm Shannon Quietek. I live at 16 Belcher Circle, and I love my library. I have 4 children, ages 10, 9, 6, and 3, who are avid library users, checking books out, resources, enjoying the indoor and outdoor space the library offers, and even donating my time on the executive board of the Friends of Milton Public Library. Milton's one of the top performing libraries in the state. The staff is exceptional and the programming robust, but I think that the lack of parking holds us back from reaching more. Countless times I've been searching the parking lot, looping around with my kids on a children's storytime morning, only to end up on Canton Ave, bringing my toddler from the street over to storytime. I've heard numerous times, like friends sharing stories that they'll want to come to a big event at night and drive by and there's no parking in sight and they just head home. Or is it like a Wednesday that I'm bringing my kids to Lego Club and you're faced with the decision, all right, should I just let them go in alone and I'll go find parking on my own? And so I think that parking is a necessity for families and for all library patrons. And I know for families, they're already carpooling. Their cars are filled with kids and adults coming to programs together. And I really believe the library is the heart of our community and with its mission to enrich the community by connecting people with ideas, information, and imagination. And the library also offers meeting rooms for community groups to support the library's role as a meeting place for all ages. So I think that additional parking would make it more accessible and allow for multiple large events to occur at the same time. So I think when you think about the library at its core, it's providing access to books and resources and meeting space, but it really provides so much more. It's community engagement, civic engagement, cultural enrichment. So if we can promote that accessibility and all this good just by adding more parking, I urge you to do it. So thank you. And thank you for your service to Milton.
Thank you very much. I don't see any hands online, and I don't see any more hands in person. So I will go ahead and close our citizen speak. Next up on our agenda, we have a discussion update Partnership for Healthy Milton regarding the November 13th, 2025 Community Forum on promoting inclusive communications. And I know we have 2 speakers here for us. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourselves when you are seated and comfortable. And you're not on the clock.
Thank you, and we'll be brief. My name is Lori Stillman. I'm a resident, a longtime resident, an active member of our community, town meeting member. And I am also a co-founder and member of the board of directors of the Partnership for Healthy Milton.
My name is Patricia Lattimore, and I live at 449 Elliott Street. I'm also a member of the Equity and Justice for All Advisory Committee for the Select Board. And tonight I'm here in support of Partnership for Healthy Milton.
Thank you.
So because the Equity and Social Justice Committee is a part of the Select Board, you're obviously very familiar with what they do, but you may not be as familiar with what the Partnership for a Healthy Milton is. We're a recently formed 501c3 nonprofit organization. And really our mission is to help promote the health and well-being of all members of our community. We are comprised of a board of directors of 9 really impressive people steeped in the public health and medicine professions. We are independent of the health department, although we collaborate with them. And Caroline Kinsella, who's the director of the health department, sits as an ex officio member of our board. So we focus on the principles of prevention and health equity. And we know that a community's health status is largely influenced by the conditions and where people live, work, play, and pray. And in fact, things like affordable housing, quality education, uh, areas for people to have recreation, clean air, are even more determinant of people's health than the access to medical care. So it's very important. There's also another very important indicator that influences people's sense of well being, and that's their feelings of belonging and inclusion in the community. And that's why we're here today. When the Partnership for Healthy Milton looked at the data that came out of the health department's first community health assessment, as well as the findings from the Equity and Social Justice Committee, we found that while many people in our community have a strong sense of belonging, there is a large swath of people who don't have as much of a strong sense of belonging. And when we dig deeper into who those people are, they're largely people who are lower income, who are renters, people of color, and new Americans. And we felt an obligation, since we are very committed to health equity, to see how we might promote more of a sense of inclusion. Now, inclusion has many, many factors, and we can't address them all. So what we decided to do was focus mostly on communication channels. How can we as a community promote better communication channels, public communications, for all of our residents? And so what we did was we applied to Celebrate Milton for a grant, and we were successful. And our proposal was to hold a community forum that would promote more effective and inclusive communications in our community. And we're very excited about it. We invited Connect Milton and the Equity and Social Justice Committee to co-sponsor it, and they were delighted to do so. And so the first thing that we did was we formed a planning committee, because we wanted to make sure that this forum was going to be responsive to everybody. And we couldn't believe it. As many as 15 people immediately stepped up and said they were interested in helping us put this forum together. There's a real lot of interest in making this happen. The forum itself is going to be on Thursday, November 13th. It's from 6 to 8:30 at the library. We'll be offering a free dinner from 5:30 to 6 if people want to join us. And it's really an invitation-only meeting. Our goal is really to spark interest and conversation in the town and generate some good ideas for doing things more innovatively and build on what we're already doing in town. And so we are inviting town leaders who sit on boards. We're inviting community residents, people who work with community organizations and businesses to the meeting. And we've also invited the select board, somebody from the select board to attend, one or two people, as well as town administrator Milano and department heads. We're also inviting residents as well, residents who are going to be most impacted by the results of this forum. So we just want to say that, what we hope comes out of it will be new policies, procedures, and ways of communicating with our community that are innovative and that are going to work. And we can't do it unless we have town government at the table. And that's why we're here. You guys have the levers to making policies and procedures, and you have the resources. And hopefully when all of us together come up with some of the ideas, you'll all have an understanding of, what is being advocated for and buy-in to make some changes. So we're here to just basically ask that you have representation at the meeting, and we're open to any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the members? Just a quick clarification from me. You said it's an invitation only. So if someone is a Milton resident and they want to go, they would be not able to go if they don't have an
Well,
invitation?
we have room for 50 people.
Okay,
So that's
the cap.
we're inviting, of all of the people that will be there, we're inviting up to 10 residents, and then the rest are an assortment of people from all the town boards and elected officials and community organizations and businesses to fill those other slots. And if we have more room, then we're happy to open it up. But right now we have a list of about 100 people. So that's why we can't just open it up to anybody who can attend. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
One of the things that we hope will happen is that we will have future forums also. This is a launch for us because you cannot solve making people feel a sense of belonging with one shot. What we're hoping comes out of this is a strategy that different organizations will take up the ball and run. And so therefore, you will have more people involved in the future. But we're starting out with a group of 50.
That makes sense. And will there be an agenda for the meeting that will be released, or
we'll have an
forwardable?
agenda in advance. With the money that we receive from Celebrate Milton, we've actually hired a facilitator and trainer. So there'll be some information about best practices, but also a lot of discussion and brainstorming together about new ways of doing business.
Great. Well, you'll excuse me, I'm just going to look at my calendar, but as somebody who spends his daytime thinking about social determinants of health and public health, I'm very, if it looks like it's free on my calendar, I'd like to attend myself. And I say that knowing that my wife's not here, so but I actually think that I can do that. I think
great.
I think I can join.
Thursday, November 13th, there's an RSVP if you wouldn't mind letting us know. And Mr. Milano would be great. We're very respectful of the fact that you guys work all the time and are busy with meetings in the evenings and have families. And we're trying to be judicious about your time. On the other hand, you could appreciate that unless we have your representation, we can't imagine that we'll be able to make progress. So we'd really like to have you there.
I'm happy to join. I won't put any public pressure on other members to join unless we have a rush and we have a quorum, then we'll have to figure that out.
Right.
And we will have a new member at the time as well. So that might be an opportunity for the new member to join and learn a little bit. But the work that you're doing to help people feel like they belong, I think right now it's more important than ever. And we're very grateful for that thought and your own work and volunteerism that's going into this, because it's critical work for the community. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Moving along, we have a report from the Equity and Justice for All Advisory Committee, and we have our guest speaker here who is able to join us on time.
I don't want you to make it seem as if that's usually in doubt.
If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself,
Of
sir.
course. Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Chris Hart. I am at 55 Woodland Road, and I am here before you all as in my capacity as chair of the Equity and Justice for All Committee. I appreciate, Mr. Chair, being able to speak with you, members of the Select Board, Mr. Milano. Just a little bit of table setting, if I may. So the Equity and Justice for All Committee, and I say this not only for the benefit of the board, but also for the benefit of the public that might be listening to this, The Equity and Justice for All Committee is in its second iteration. Its first iteration was through a charter in 2021. You'll have to pardon me for the exact dates. And it was then an 18-month charge, where in the course of the work of that first iteration of the committee, members of the committee did quite a bit of research and work into 4 distinct areas after discussing where to focus. One was town government, one was school, youth, and families, one was police and fire, and one was affordable housing. At the end of that work and the charge of that committee, the committee produced a report that was provided, a final report that was provided to the Select Board in 2022. That report is available on the town's website through the Equity and Justice for All Committee's page. And prior to this meeting, I had distributed to you all a distilled version of the recommendations that arose from the committee. That's the subject of the discussion I'd like to have with you this evening. But just to continue on with a little bit of history, one of the recommendations, and a recommendation that was almost immediately implemented by the Select Board, was to create a permanent committee. And that permanent committee is now in its 3rd year of operation, the third year beginning over the summer. And currently consists of 8 members with up to 11 being able to be on the committee, each serving 2-year terms. In March or April, I was here before the committee to provide an update. The charge of the committee is as an advisory committee to the Select Board, with a mandate to report to the Select Board every quarter. A mandate that hasn't necessarily been followed, but one that I'd like to make good on going forward. And as I said to then Chair Wells, at that update meeting, I mentioned that the committee was concerned, and I was personally concerned, about the progress that was made or not made on the specific recommendations made in the report. And Chair Wells invited the chair back, whether it was me or somebody else, to come and speak to the committee. So that's why I'm here. The recommendations that were provided in the 86-page report reflects an enormous amount of work by the committee. It also reflects a lot of consideration by the members of the committee on what mattered to Milton in terms of moving forward with equity and justice. The charge is in the charge of the Equity and Justice Committee is to work toward equity and justice in the town, especially with a view toward eliminating racism, especially against individuals of color, and eliminating other forms of prejudice and discrimination. And that's what these recommendations are really geared to do. And so what you'll see in the distillation that you've been provided is each one of the categories that I mentioned, the series of recommendations taken verbatim from the report, as well as a cell, the Word document, a cell that talks about status. Most of this is blank. A couple of things we know have been done. Maybe 1 or 2 things have been mooted. There are some recommendations that are likely out of date. So, for example, one that's been mooted has to do with moving forward on ADUs. Obviously, we now have a state law. We've moved forward on ADUs. There's some discussion in the police and fire section regarding the status of civil service. That has also changed. There was then a legislative special committee on civil service that's done some work. There have been some recommendations to the legislature. I think that there's some work that we would need to do as a committee now. But there's a lot in the town government section, which is in the first 2 pages of the distillation that I provided, where the committee does not know what the status is, and where the committee believes, and I believe, that work, if it has not been done, can be done. I'm happy at this point to follow your lead, Mr. Chair, on how to address this. One is we can simply talk through the recommendations as listed here, and I'm happy to do so. And we can have a discussion about any particular one. But another would be to essentially treat this as a first reading of recommendations, where I would invite myself back, with your indulgence, as soon as possible to a meeting where we can actually talk about progress. I suspect, unless I'm told differently, that other than the first two recommendations here, the first one on a townwide DE&I statement, which was agreed to, but I don't think has ever been posted or enacted, and the second on the establishment of a permanent select board, it's not clear to me that any others have been acted upon. So, for example, incorporate DI accountability and responsibility into the goals of the town administrator, create a full-time town-wide DEI position, create a DEI dashboard available on the town website, report the state of the DEI to the town annually. On that, that's the sixth recommendation here. On that score, Pat Lattimore, who was co-chair with me in the first iteration of the committee, and I spoke to town meeting to provide them that very update based on the work of the committee. And I could go on. I don't think any of these have been enacted. There may be good reason for it. It might be that this was simply set to one side because there have been other priorities. Whatever the case may be, I think it's time now to look at these closely and see what can be done, what can be done now, what should we discuss that can be done over time. Is there something that the committee should be considering based on concerns that the select board may have? I'm happy to have that conversation in whatever form it should take, but I think the important thing is that as an advisory board, we work with the select board to move forward on these priorities and treat them as priorities.
Thank you. Initial thoughts or questions from the members?
Thank you. Is this on? Okay. Thank you for putting this together and for updating us on the status. I think it just highlights the extent to which we have some distance to go. A question I have regarding current events and the federal administration's approach to DEI programs. Have you considered, or is Mr. Milano aware of any actions or any kind of review of municipal DEI programs?
I'm not aware at this time, other than just kind of the overall commentary on that issue these days.
Yeah.
Nothing specific that has impacted Milton specifically or other communities that I am aware of at this
Okay.
time.
I'm not sure. You'll have to pardon me for asking. I'm not
So,
sure that I
so the
understand
reason I'm asking, in my day-to-day work,
Yes.
For federal contracting purposes, the DOT is not allowed to assign MBE or WBE scores or percentages to contracts and projects.
You want to just share what those stand for?
So it's basically disadvantaged business enterprises. So, giving a percentage of a project to, or holding a particular weight for people of color, veterans, and women on construction projects. I don't know if there are, my question is do we have a sense of any risk any similar risk to any initiatives that we might have? And has anyone discussed with town council or done a scan? And maybe I'm thinking too early, but
I think the town's direct contracts that are supported directly by federal government are limited.
right,
Milton
and
Public
it's mostly
Schools
education.
Right, and Milton
Yeah.
Schools certainly benefits from more, so they might be in a better position to speak to things that they're seeing.
Yep.
In terms of what we have underway, we haven't seen that yet. but I can double check with departments that have, and there are only a couple of federal grants, but I can double check. But to my knowledge, we haven't had that
Yeah.
direct
I-
feedback that you're referring to.
I would think we might want to consult town council just to make sure that we are as successful as possible in achieving this. And so that we understand like what impediments we could possibly face.
Secretary, if I may, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I mentioned in passing some of those, acknowledging some of those concerns in my last visit to the select board. Obviously, I'm not town council. I'm not here to advise. I
Right.
will say, however, that this is part of my practice. And so I do advise organizations and municipalities as well on risks associated with DEI. So to that extent, if it would be helpful, wearing my hat, not as a lawyer, but as chair of the committee, to engage with town council and have a conversation about these to figure out if there's risk and what that risk looks like, I'm happy to do so. I will say, just from my vantage point, the kinds of recommendations in the town government section of the report, I think, implicate a lot less risk than the kinds of risks that you're talking about with regard to DOT. So I would be less concerned from my perspective. But obviously, you'll have to get town councils.
And all of this is new. And
Yes.
nobody
Well,
in every space. So
it's, if I may, you're right. It's new in every space. It's being challenged in various ways. The level of enforcement is unclear, but what is clear is where you have where the most risk, from my perspective, where the most risk exists is if there's a federal contract where you have to make a certification, or if you are otherwise requesting grant money, or if you have specific requirements of procurement contract. When we're talking, however, about things like where in these recommendations, like having a policy, having roles that are assigned around looking at equity and justice in the town, having dashboards about data. There's nothing wrong with having data. I think that we're looking at a much, much lower level of risk.
good.
From my not wearing a lawyer's hat,
Yeah.
of course.
Mr. Daly, any questions
Yes.
or thoughts?
So I haven't had a chance to just very quickly look through a lot of these recommendations, this report. It strikes me it's been a few years since some of these were brought before the board. And Mr. Hart, your point, you said about the Equity and Justice Committee was the thoughts of eliminating prejudice and racism. And I'll say, as someone who has worked in the space of DEI as well as belonging spaces and working with youth programs and schools around making spaces where all people feel that they are welcome, places that they can achieve. I think of DEI, even though it has been hijacked, now weaponized to the point where even I, as I am saying it, I'm wondering, should I say it? Right? That's happened with just 3 letters, with the idea of creating a space where we acknowledge difference, we acknowledge the different identities of folks, that folks are having different experiences, and that we should be creating spaces that take these things into account. That when we have imbalances, whether it is in treatment, success, I think of, I spoke with you all when you were working on this early on about youth sports in town, and the thoughts that families of color, newer families to the town, did not find it easy to join sports programs. So we had a swath of children and families who were left out of essentially what is one of our key community building areas, right? Youth sports. We're all at the fields. We all watch our kids grow. I get to know your kids. You get to know mine. We look at each other as neighbors, and they were feeling blocked out by that. So I think of this, and even just in Ms. Lattimore, I know you've worked so extensively in our schools around AP programs, and I think of the calculus project being attacked, a space that was put forth for students of color to get extra help in math, to close some of these achievement gaps. and where we stand now, where this work has been deemed racist and wrong, that we would look at people who have been marginalized and attacked and said that we need to change it, that we need to create something that is better, and thus we must put resources towards helping folks who have been attacked previously. And so in looking at where we stand now, I wonder if there are any, can I see some of these recommendations we've acted on, maybe not even with the Equity and Justice Committee's thoughts, but we've had long discussions for the last few years about affordable homes, what that meant for us in terms of 40Bs and new development, our long drawn out discussion around the MBTA Communities Act. So I feel that some of these things have gotten better simply because the conversations were being had. I think this is more of a social and cultural shift, and now we're shifting in the other direction. So I wonder, as I read this, if there are any points or recommendations that are of top of mind for the committee that the town could move on, knowing that we do stand, maybe not some risk from the federal government, but who knows? Every day it changes, right? But a risk from people who take, or all of us take, our points from the country, right? What is okay? What are the things that we can push against? Where can we grow? Are there points in here you say that would be top 3 things that the town could move on to make a difference in people's lives?
Sure. I appreciate the question. Let me address it in a couple of ways.
Mm-hmm.
So the first is my sense of our discussions around these recommendations, and we've been talking about these recommendations for quite some time, and how to help move them forward. My sense is that the overall concern of the committee, and not just of the committee, but also of residents in town who have talked to me and others about wondering what the committee is doing. My overall sense is that people want the select board to act. They want the select board to be vocal and active in this space. And so in many ways, I appreciate your comments just now, because I think especially in an environment where DEI in spirit and in letter is under attack and being used to attack other things, be it academic freedom, be it speech, whatever the case may be, to have this select board keep it as a priority, I think is important. So to that end, I would say I think the committee would be pleased to see the select board take these up in whatever order the select board deems appropriate. I think that's my sense of the committee's discussions. I have focused here my comments on the town government portion as opposed to the other portions, in part because of, for example, some of the complexities around the affordable housing piece, where I think you're right, things have changed. The political context has changed. The kinds of issues have changed. But also because, to be candid, I think some of this is simply low-hanging fruit. I don't think it's difficult to simply enact a policy and put it on the website.
Yeah.
That's an easy thing that can be done. Is it a priority? It is, in the sense that it's sending a message. It's speech. It's making sure that that people know that this is something that the select board takes seriously. And I think that can be true about creating a dashboard. I think it can be true about having an annual report. I think that other things are also important, but I think that they can take more time. So, for example, if the select board were to look at recommendation number 4, create a full-time townwide DEI position to lead the town's DEI strategy, I understand that there may be some complexities in implementing something like that. I think it would be in my top 3. Because I think that it would send a clear message about how the town is prioritizing DEI, but I also think it might be a more difficult one to implement. So I don't mean to punt on your question, Mr. Daly, but I do think that that's how I'm looking at this.
And I think when I look at some of the recommendations and I think of the last few years and some of things that I've seen professionally, I think when I'm thinking about top three, what I'm asking for is what are the things that are impactful? Because as you say, we may put things up on the website and that would be speech and it would send a message. I've found that in these years, those messages have not had impact. They've been largely performative and they've gotten us nothing on the ground in terms of moving the needle,
Sure.
in terms of folks having more opportunities, people feeling more welcomed. It is not done as much as we would have hoped. And so as we think about our town here, what are the things that we do that actually move the needle, that provide a better quality of life for our residents, and certainly a better sense of community for all folks that are here? As I'm thinking about just DEI and where we stand now, Chair Zoll has talked often about ICE and the fear and thinking of things that people are seeing nationally where their identities are what's getting them picked up and arrested. And the concept of DEI is that your identity is understood, honored, and folks find a way to make space for you. So are there places where Milton can make more room and more space for folks of various identities where they're not seeing that now? Are there places where we can actually move the needle and say that the community gets to know each other differently than they would otherwise, that our children have a different impact in school? I think the point here around schools and our historic segregation is an important one. You know, I've had parents ask me, why does my kid live on this street and they go to this school, and then all their friends on all the other streets go to a different school?
Mm-hmm.
And I think over time, I've seen, even without these directions and from the town, parents have taken that on themselves. I've seen
Mm-hmm.
some of that change in sports. I've seen the change in the schools and where folks go and how folks attend. Not perfect, but I've seen that effort come from individuals, and I think that has moved the needle. So when I think of the top three, and it's not to make this a list, it's something that is that simple. I think of impact because the other pieces have not gotten us where we would like to be.
Yeah.
I think of that.
A question.
Zoe?
So I know we had our offsite over the weekend and we set some goals. I forget if we had some goals relating to this topic.
We had goals relating to, I don't think explicitly.
We may want to consider more explicitly calling this out.
And I know we have that retreat on our agenda in a
Yeah.
minute, and I know we're working on the sort of more formal statement for the goals that we'll review at a future meeting. But I think it's a great point.
It may be. I mean, I agree with Vice Chair Daly on everything he just mentioned about the need to be thoughtful in prioritization and aligning to impact. But I think one of the things we could start to do is to more expressly center it in our own goals.
I think that's well said by both members. So I have lots of thoughts about this. So Mr. Hart, could you tell us, you're coming to us about, the select board, some of these goals would maybe impact the library or the planning board or other parts of town government. Is the committee reaching out to those other parts of town government as well? I mean, obviously, the select board is the executive, and we should be dealing with this. But it seems to me like the other boards would benefit from this conversation.
Yes. So in fact, we had a meeting last night. We designated liaisons to each of the elected boards. And so my hope is that members of the committee will be having similar conversations with members of the other boards. But let me say something both to that as well as to Mr. Daly's comments. I do think it's a conversation, right? I mean, we're an advisory committee to the select board. We're also to advise other towns, but a lot of that is when at least my vision, and I think that the members of the committee would agree with me, but I'll speak for myself. I think that we come at the committee's work through our own experiences, through the people that we know. Obviously, the report reflects a lot of research. It reflects a survey of town residents, and so in a lot of ways, we're informed, and we bring that information to you with our advice and recommendations. But we also want to understand how to implement from you, and we want to understand what will work from your perspective. So I see this as a dialogue. So to Mr. Daly's point, first of all, I don't see this as either or. I very much appreciate the point about performativeness, and I do not want that, and I don't think anybody in the committee wants that. But I also think that that silence speaks loudly, and I think that you can do both things. You can speak, and you can take specific measures on school youth sports programs. I think both of those things are possible, and they should be done. But I also think it does take setting this as a priority, and so I see this as a back and forth. And I'm hopeful that it'll be a back and forth with the other boards as well.
Thank you. My first question was really based around the idea of this being a continued conversation,
Yes.
because I think, and I regret that we haven't had you here in the last couple of months, but I'm glad that you're here today. And you and I have had individual conversations about this issue as well. But now more than ever, I can feel like we have to say that at every meeting now. This is important work, and I agree wholeheartedly with Mr. Daly about figuring out where we can really make a difference at this point, because I think that the unspoken danger of performative work is the real danger is that you pretend like you're making progress, or you're not making progress. The other danger is that you, by being performative, may end up drawing attention to the work, except you're not even really doing it that much, and then be chastised or whatever else the federal government might have up its sleeves. So I think being very deliberate and thoughtful about what we want to put into place here and how we put it into place is important, but also having that commitment, putting it in place and putting that work in place.
I appreciate that. I do have one reaction to that, but I think it dovetails with your comments, which is it would please me to no end if the select board started to implement these recommendations or others that it deemed important, and we started to hear feedback from residents. I think that's exactly the kind of dialogue that we want. We want people thinking about these issues. We want people thinking about how these issues affect them and their communities, and whether the work that is being done deliberately, whether it's being effective or not. I think we have to have that kind of iterative feedback for this to be successful. That takes time. It takes effort.
That's right. Many of us, when we were small, we read the words of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, who said the moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. And former President Obama has just sort of made the emphasis of it doesn't do it by itself, right? We've got to bend the arc, otherwise it won't bend. And so I think that the last few months have given us a real sense of what happens if we don't do the work, and so that makes it more incumbent than ever to do the work. So, barring other thoughts or suggestions from the members, my thinking on this is that you've just given us, a great document, which is a summation of a great 86-page document, and so we're going to have a little bit of time to absorb this. I would like us to come back in November and invite you and Ms. Lattimore, or anybody else that wants to come from the committee, so that we can both respond to this, and we can have our own meditations on this and what we think might be possible. And I would, knowing that this was written maybe in a different era than today, it's possible that your committee may decide, in reflection, these are the areas we'd really like you to focus on, or where we see the most urgent needs, so that we could come back in November and maybe have that discussion, and then implement some things. Then it also occurs to me that the board agreed at the January 4th, 2022 meeting, which predates all of us here, except for I see Mr. Wells has joined us online. I think we've begun the process of creating a DEI statement, but we haven't finished it. And so perhaps what we could also do, Mr. Milano, is circulate to the members what that draft statement looks like.
Okay.
Because I think at the very least, even if we don't vote it in as an official statement, it would be helpful to clarify our goals and our thoughts around this work. Does that sound okay? That's a suggestion that I'm throwing out there for members and for you, Mr. Hart.
Yeah. Yep.
I welcome all of that. And I would say in addition, and I say this for everybody's benefit as well as those watching at home, the Equity and Justice Committee meets the first Monday of every month at 7 p.m. And those meetings are, of course, open to the public. We have public comment for those who are interested. And what I might suggest is, in addition to any members of the public who are always invited to attend, if any members of the select board would like to come to our next meeting, perhaps as a discussion ahead of our next visit, that might be productive.
So that would be the first Monday of November.
That's right.
My calendar's getting full. This is... let's see. So that's the 3rd.
Yes.
Well, I have to take the compost out that evening, but other than that, I feel like I'm free.
Is that on your calendar?
Mr. Zoll,
that's all
I
got on
will
the Monday night.
double check that. I'm 90% confident that's correct. But
And perhaps you can follow up with an email invitation as
Perhaps,
well,
yes.
and
Yeah.
that we make sure that it lands there.
Right.
And I think at the very beginning you also alluded to like quarterly reports, and I encourage the committee to consider that, and whether it's an in-person or a written report that's submitted to the select board and to other boards, I think that's critically important. We need
I
to
think we'd
keep.
be very happy
keep this
to
on
be
the
here
front burner.
quarterly and have a continued discussion with the select board.
Thank you. Any further questions from the members?
No.
For me?
Right.
Thank
Well,
you.
you have our thanks
Thank
for
you
your
for your
service,
work.
Mr. Hart.
Thank you all, and thank you, Mr. Chair.
We got all the hits today. Number 6 is our elected official civil discourse training.
Mr. Chair, I didn't know if you wanted to do the library while.
Oh
we had
yeah, let's do the
public guests.
library. Let's do the
I think it's
library.
number 8.
Yes, because I imagine we were going to talk about the Route 28 for
I'm
a minute
sorry.
as well. So why
Number
don't we
8.
go to item number 8? If any and or all of the folks who would like to join us for the discussion of the feasibility study request for proposals for library parking would like to join us? Or not? So, Mr. Milano, we have this. Well, I guess it's addressed to our director of our libraries. A document from Ryan LLC. So I don't know. Maybe Will, do you want to give us a? Or actually, we should have all of you introduce yourselves real quick.
My name is Christine Hodlin. I live at 112 Maple Street, and I'm one of the library trustees.
Hi, I'm Will Adamczyk, and I'm your library director.
And I'm Cheryl Tagayas, 660 Canton Avenue, and I am here in my capacity as chair of the Master Plan Implementation Committee.
Thank you all. So, Mr. Adamczyk, do you want to maybe kick us off with just a quick review of what we have in front of us?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So at our last meeting, I think in September, we left it that we provided an update of the work that's been done looking into parking options for the library as well as the town center. And after that work, we came to a plan of doing a feasibility study that would create an RFP. And the document that was shared with you, and I'll look to Cheryl to help fill in some of the blanks here, provides what the work would be for a feasibility study to look into what would be the best options for parking for the library and potentially the town center. It would review the spaces. It would review options for what could be built on that property. It has a number of deliverables. The project would involve being the project manager for the project, verifying goals with members of the community and people who have been working on it, coming up with planning scenarios, providing site plans, diagrammatic illustrations. It would also involve public meetings and discussions with individuals within the community, and eventually would lead to helping to create an RFP if this project is something that would go forward. That's kind of a basic version of what that document is in front of you. Cheryl, anything to add to that?
I would just add that the real impetus behind this is twofold, really. If we think about parking as a use by itself, it's not in a town that has limited land available for uses. It might not be the top priority for folks to think about as a land use. Secondly, if you combine it with another use, and it does provide an opportunity to help pay for the parking. So we can get multiple uses out of our town asset. And in talking with various consultants about how to go about this next step, it became clear that really to answer the question whether this is a viable option is to test the market, really. So first is to get support in the community for what would be the appropriate set of uses and appropriate scale on the property, then craft an RFP for the marketplace to tell us whether they think that works and whether it could help pay for us or pay for that parking and provide for us potentially another use that is in need. And the one that we've talked about the most is affordable housing. And I mentioned at the last time we were here that Boston had been rolling out a public-private partnership where they are getting neighborhood libraries in conjunction with affordable housing projects, and the most recent one's in Chinatown. But it's rolling out throughout the city.
Thoughts or questions from the members?
So one of the questions I have, and I don't know if it belongs in this phase of discovery in assembly of the RFP, but to your point, Cheryl, about potential other uses offsetting the cost of the parking. I wasn't sure that I saw anything specifically spelled out in the document that referenced financial or revenue generation. So I was wondering if that had been discussed in the drafting of this, or if you feel like that would be part of the discussion during the RFP process, or when we get responses from bidders.
I think if that's the priority that we want to establish, that we can make that one of the goals at the outset with the consultant. It is something that was discussed with the consultant in advance of the preparation of the proposal.
Because I think there are a number of questions, right, about, or a number of avenues to contemplate, revenue generation opportunities and value creation. One is through uses other than parking on the site to offset. I know, like the Chinatown example, that you're mentioning, Chinatown has like a lot more allowable density to offset affordable housing and other uses. So I think the question is what would be possible here, what would offset the use, but then also too with parking itself, is there any opportunity for revenue generation with parking? I know we don't want to nickel and dime our residents to use the library or anything like that, but it just might be a question out there that, you know, if somebody could take a quick back of the envelope look at it.
I did have conversations with developers who do mixed income housing and affordable housing, and also a state official who's very familiar with state grants that would be available to us for this.
Okay.
The parking associated with the library could be considered infrastructure, so eligible for infrastructure grants. And if done as a affordable housing project, the combination of the Mass Works grants, for example, and then even a possibility to partnership with the Milton Housing Authority. So there are avenues that some developers have expressed to me that lead me to think, and the committee in discussing this in the past, to think that there is a viable option here. How it generates revenue outside of, let's say, a lease arrangement. If this became a taxable, right now it's non-taxable land, right? So it becomes a use that is taxable. You get revenue generation there, but there could also be some other form. If there's a cafe, you get some kind of local revenue tax off, from that. So there are different avenues, I think. So the program mix is going to be important to what the income could be. And that's what we're really hoping comes out of the feasibility. From what I've heard is some of that's going to come through the RFP process.
Okay.
Mr. Wells has his hand up, so I want to make sure we get to him. Mr. Wells?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to make sure Ms. Haggerty's finished first before I speak.
Are you all done? Ms.
Oh,
Haggerty?
yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So a couple of points. First is, when we entered into the idea of building a new fire headquarters on the site where it exists today, as well as the preservation and renovation of the existing fire headquarters historic site as it now exists as a community run or community use. This neighborhood is very involved, and I'm hesitant tonight even having discussions without them even knowing about this, because this is not something we talked about the whole neighborhood. We talk about this with them. That's one thing. You're going to need to get this neighborhood up. Number two, to Ms. Haggerty's point, if you're going to try and do this, I think we currently have in capital requests somewhere in the excess of, and I'm calling it around, I believe it's 630 million. It could be $6 in total capital requests. So as Will knows, it took us how many years, Will, just to get you $250,000 for the generator for the new library, there. It's the pressure on capital requests is enormity. This isn't even on the capital list yet. I think you're going to have to start to, number one, engage with the partners, whether it's the neighborhood, get their input. Number two, if this is a vision that this board allows you, you're going to have to come before the capital committee and stuff to paint a picture to get yourself in the group, because I find it highly unlikely that even if you were able to partner somehow, that this is not going to involve town dollars. And if it's going to be town dollars, just like the fire stations, and Mr. O'Rourke knows it's been, I don't know how many times it's been before, so school project, and it's not even a reality yet. You're going to have to, because that's how things like this happen in this community. So it's more than just coming to speak to us about this. It's dotting your I's and crossing your T's to not just inform the abutting neighbors who are very involved, and I say this wholeheartedly, we could have never gotten to that beautiful facility that exists today and the rehabilitation of the existing original fire station without the involvement and participation of the residents of that. And that's where you're talking now, as you know well, it's pretty much the same neighborhoods. I think you're going to have to do this. I think if you try to bring this as a project without any outside dollars, you're in a long queue, as you know, as I talked about the generator. You're years into this before you even get a look at it. So that's just my comments on it for now. And I think it's important because that's the process we take in getting these things done. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank
If
you,
I
Ms.
may.
Wells. Would you please?
Yes. On the comment about the neighborhood involvement, I don't recall the name of the neighborhood association that Richard referenced, but they did participate in Master Plan Implementation Committee meetings in which this was discussed. A big part of this proposal is community engagement. It's something that we felt is absolutely necessary. It's necessary with any kind of public project like this. And so that's anticipated would be robust, and you'll see that there's a lot of scope associated with that in this proposal. So we agree that that's absolute necessity. And I know Will wants to speak to this too, but the library has been working on this for some time. And so it's understood that it takes time for these kinds of initiatives to move forward. And it's why we felt as if there is an alternative to public funds, Milton funds, that we should explore it. And that's why we suggest this RFP. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wells, for your comments. And I agree, things do take time, and there's only so much money to go around. And I agree with what Cheryl just shared. But I think we're at the point in this process, as far as the library goes and with the Master Planning Committee, where we don't have a specific plan. So we're not able to bring a specific plan before any groups. The point we're at now is we would like professional help to get us to that point. And that would involve more community engagement. And it would involve focusing what that potential plan might be and what potential funding sources might be. So is this feasible to be funded directly by the town? This process will help us figure that out. Is it feasible to have it funded partially, a public-private partnership? What would that look like? What would potential tax revenues look like? So we need to get to the next step, and we think that this feasibility study will get us there. And if at the end of that feasibility study, we don't know what that will show, but it will have more community engagement, more community involvement, and we can specifically work with the neighborhoods. We reached out to other neighbors as well during this process, including the churches and the hospital. But we think we're at the point in the process where we need to take this step so we can better define what is feasible and what that plan looks like, so we can present it to people and they can react not to just us talking about it as a theory, but as an actual plan. So that's what I would say about.
And Mr. Wells has his hand up, so I'm assuming he has. Mr. Wells?
I do. And as Will knows, and I stated this the last time you were here, I know intricately, not just in this role, but in my private life, the operations and the needs of the life. But the neighborhood organization you're referring to is the Milton Center, Walnut Street Neighborhood Association. I don't believe, to Mr. Gaius, this is not something that was ever discussed. I know how active they are, how involved they are. I'm just saying to you, in the community where we had it's $40 million capital request right now, not including a request for a new school or a new engine 4 up on, which is going to have to be built at some point. This is a step you go. No matter how you go with this, you're going to have to take that step and go there. So I'm just trying to use many years of experience here, not that I know all the answers, as to the things that I think you need to do immediately on top of this, regardless of what we decide to do, to start to paint that picture of where you want to try to go. And you need, because without their support, input and support, you're going to have a very, very difficult work. And well, you already know that. You went through the whole building of the library, so you know this. That's it, Mr. Chair. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wells. Mr.
Quick
Daly.
question. So in this feasibility, is this leaving it open for areas around the library to be reviewed for solutions, or is this being done with the idea that the solution is the parking structure and it's more about how do we get that done? Are we leaving it open for other solutions when this goes out?
I think that as part of, I thank you for the question. As part of the kind of discovery process with the contractor, we would discuss all of the sites that we have reviewed, and we would talk about how we got to the site that we're looks most feasible from us. But we would not rule out if they'll be able to look at the environment and see what other options might be out there. But we would turn over and share the work that we've already done, and looking at things that maybe are easily ruled out because it's wetlands or other reasons.
So just a quick question. So this proposal here, it calls for essentially $10,000 for this consultant to come in, figure out what the goals are, develop some scenarios, include community participation, at least 2 meetings, work with the board of trustees. Can you just let us know what the ask is from the select board? Because I know the library trustees had volunteered to put some funds towards this as well.
Thank you for that question. I guess we would ask if you have anything to participate at all in the cost of it. The trustees will pay for this if that's the only mechanism that we can have to go forward. As Will said, I personally have been working on this project for 15 years. We've gone through so many options, and the only way for us to find out if this is an option is to go to this next step. And we're willing to put our funds there if there isn't anything from the town that can be offered.
Thoughts from the members?
No, I think we can look at that. And I just want to be clear on my questions from earlier. And I think this is spelled out here that, it says the draft will encompass all the elements that outline the town's programmatic expectations for the development community. So my question is, if at this time in the programmatic expectations, we would indicate anything or study anything along the lines of revenue generation or fiscal impact, just to surface and highlight the type of benefit that a project like this can have to the town, so that everybody's thinking very broadly and open-mindedly about the potential of this. So I think you have this in here. And I also think that, we may consider, if this goes forward, that it could be a factor in the evaluation criteria. But I think that's probably, by the end of this RFP development process, this will probably be hashed out.
I will say, in our discussions, we spoke about what other uses could be besides affordable housing, whether it be medical office, for example, with Milton Hospital nearby. We thought that this process could tease that out further.
Yeah, I think so too. And I also think that going into a process like this, it's good for public entities to have some type of baseline and some type of knowledge of, like, I am a big fan of knowing somewhat of what you want to see when you issue an RFP. You don't need to know the exact answer that comes back, but to be able to compare the numbers against to validate.
I'll just share also that during the process, I had a conversation with an operator of a cafe in Milton and asked about this location. I also had a conversation with the owner of the property at 7 Pleasant, which has initially, when they came to the planning board, they thought that they may be getting healthcare workers who wanted to live there. With the proximity to the hospital, to the hospice, and public transit that this property has, that's a possibility as well. The committee itself, is made up of volunteers with, there is some limit in the capacity we have to do all of the due diligence.
Right.
It's not the expertise of the library trustees and the library director, which is why they came to the MPIC for assistance. But we really feel to take it further, it needs the outside expertise to come in and take it to that next level, to answer the questions more fully.
Yep.
Other thoughts from the members? Mr. Milano, if the select board decided to put some resources towards this RFP process, what would that look like?
We didn't budget for it necessarily, obviously, as an unexpected or new cost, but with some of the vacancies we've had and continue to have in our office between the assistant town administrator, the assistant planning director, the planning director who only recently started, there is some additional funding that won't be spent based on our current projection. So if the board wanted to allocate funding for it, there is some savings there in place in our budget currently.
I think the points that Ms. Hegarty was making there, I think are really critical. It kind of, the idea of building parking spaces is, like, for me, and I know for you guys too, kind of gross. Like, is there other ways that we can, figure out how to get people to the library? But, in our day and age, that's how people get their kids to the library. That's how seniors get to the library. That's how everyone gets to the library for the most part. So I think the points about making sure that this is there's some sort of a revenue generating mechanism, whether it's a business or, I don't know, if paid for parking or any sort of way for the town to start diversifying its revenue and making this not necessarily pay for itself, but at least pay back to the town a little bit. I know that's not, the library pays to the town, more than we can possibly really quantify in just its existence in the programming. And we are not a town with a lot of money. So I think we've all in our retreat discussed prioritizing, figuring out how to diversify our funding base, bring in more businesses, bring in more tax revenue for the town that doesn't burden the residents. I think that would be a strong preference that we would have as part of the RFP process, and I think we would want that included in the discussions with the consultant. I would also think that it would make sense if the select board decided that we wanted to support the RFP process, that perhaps one of our members could attend one of the early visioning sessions to kind of get a sense of both what has been done and what could be done, and to provide that sentiment to the board.
Mr. Chair,
Geis.
just at our last time here, we suggested a small working group, and we had suggested a member of the select board participate in that. I know we heard earlier that you're being asked to participate in many other things. So whether you feel as if you're going to have capacity for that, you are welcome. We do feel like that small group would augment what the library can bring to guide this consultant. And certainly your views as expressed tonight would be helpful in helping guide the consultant. So we would welcome that.
Any volunteers? Oh, Miss Hegarty has her hand in the air. So
Can't help myself.
it's a good cause. It's a good cause. They're all good causes. It's true. We only have so many hours in the day. Is there anyone that wants to make a motion on any of this in terms of supporting the RFP?
That would us supporting the RFP moving forward and then figuring out if we're going to have some financial backing later.
I think we should discuss with Mr. Milano. I think we should make a commitment to have an answer for the group by the next select board meeting. But I think we should evaluate competing needs and the appropriate level that we should pitch in. I do think if we're making a request for certain items to be involved in this RFP, that we should consider the cost of that level of evaluation, and if that adjusts the price tag, we should consider covering that if that's the case. I think we should talk about it or look into it over the next couple weeks and come back with an answer. Yeah. But definitely that option's not off the table.
Could I make a suggestion also?
Of course.
I think there's room to continue to negotiate the scope of this work. And if there was one of you that wanted to work with Mr. Milano and us to revise that scope, we would certainly welcome that. I think it would be helpful if you did make a decision that you felt that this was an appropriate direction, and the final details of the scope and the funding could come. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that makes sense as a action plan. One thing, just from my own reading of this, and I think echoing what Mr. Wells was saying a bit there, community participation is obviously included in this with 2 community meetings. But it sounds like the first meeting, we've already have 3 kind of sketches that we're sharing with the public, and I wonder if there's a opportunity for folks to get in earlier, whether it's through a big public meeting or just bringing in some neighborhood groups, so that people feel like that they have some input into the process. But I think Ms. Hegarty, your suggestion with Mr. Gaius's comments makes a lot of sense. So perhaps we could have a motion now on a general sentiment, and we could review and discuss again at our second meeting this month.
I'd like to make a motion to review funding possibilities for this RFP, and come back to the committee and this meeting in 2 weeks.
Okay. Seconded by Mr. Daly. Mr. Wells is remote, so we'll have this as a roll call vote. Mr. Wells, you have your hand up. So discussion.
So under discussion, I'm not for the funding because they have their own funding sources. And as you know, we were bringing our own department heads that come in before us, that come under this board in past months. I believe you heard a very passionate plea from the police chief regarding his inability to purchase and deploy his body cameras, which are a critical tool. And I'm just giving one example. I just think we need to be very careful. Not to say that this isn't warranted, but we don't have a lot of money to spend. And I think that any money that this board is going to approve, we need to truly focus on those departments that come directly under this board before we offer to give it to an entity that has its own funding sources that come from outside. So that's just my comment on that. I'm okay with moving the RFP forward and starting the process, but not from a fiduciary point of view.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wells. So with any further discussion? So we'll have a roll call vote. Mr. Wells? This is a motion to vote to consider this and return in 2 weeks' time with thoughts, input, and discussion.
Okay, I'm okay with that for now. Yes.
Okay, Mr. Wells is yes. Ms. Haggerty?
Yes.
Mr. Daly?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Thank you very much for your time and your continued efforts. Mr. Milano, I think we're back to number 6. Is that correct?
Yes.
Elected official civil discourse training. We have A, working group to recommend training options, and B, policy and for bias and civil discourse training for elected officials. Where would you like to begin, Mr. Milano?
So I had a little homework on this one in terms of a little bit more of a deeper dive and to see if there are any similar programs that other communities have done. I have yet still to uncover anything kind of specifically along this lines. There have been trainings around board and committee participation. There have been trainings around, workforce trainings that communities have had. Communities are starting to launch like citizen academies where they're inviting people in to attend to teach them about town government, how government work, and how people should interact with town government. So it's all kind of around the edge of what this vision is, but nothing kind of specifically addressing it in terms of like something that is very similar to copy and paste and take some good parts from. So at this time, I don't have any kind of direct recommendation based on Mr. Furz's comments. I think the best step here really is creating something that's responsive to the concerns we've heard, that's responsive to the issues that members want addressed, and working with a group to kind of put that together and then find the right person to lead that effort.
Thoughts from the members?
Yeah, I think for me, I'm more focused on the code of conduct and perhaps the civil discourse training. I think the script is less important, as I would hope that if we have a code of conduct in place, as well as trainings and discussions around discourse, that if it does come to a board member having to address comments that were made either by themselves or by others, that they would be able to address these sincerely. I wouldn't want it to be that our boards are simply reading off of a boilerplate, because I don't think that would be addressing the issues that may come up. So I think the discourse training, code of conduct, which we discussed a bit in our retreat as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that would be for all elected board members, even as we were talking about onboarding new electeds. Perhaps that just becomes a part of our onboarding process.
Mm. So this is not civil discourse training in itself, but there is a civil discourse initiative that the town of Wellesley has on its website. It's more of a volunteer effort, brings people together. I'm sure you've evaluated this in your scan. I don't know if there's any kind of learnings or outputs from Wellesley that we could learn from or take, because I think the challenge or the problem that we're trying to address is that as a town and through some of our elected bodies, large and small, we as elected officials and sometimes residents sometimes struggle with skills to communicate when we disagree with people. And that is, so this, it's clear from this initiative in Wellesley that other municipalities face this challenge. So yeah, I mean, this doesn't, what you're mentioning doesn't surprise me, but I don't know if this kind of came across your radar. And, you know, maybe we can link up with Wellesley or something to see what they're thinking, if they have contemplated this.
Yeah, I think what I have found to be a little challenging here is like, what exactly do we want to do? And
what
that is
what is the problem we seek to address, right?
Because
Yeah.
there's the bias element piece of it. There's the civil discourse in terms of managing and doing a board and committee relationship, and members participating, appointed members working together. So I think it's a little bit of a shape-shifting challenge, and so that's where it's like, I think would be helpful to
Point taken.
have a small group say, this is exactly the key elements that we wanted to work on. Here's the type of people who can facilitate such a training, and let's get some proposals and take it from there, and we can develop a proposal accordingly. So that I don't want to take it in one direction and then it's, oh, that's not really what we're looking for. So that is what I am bumping up against in terms of trying to come up with something that hits some of the key points.
I think that's a great point. My suggestion might be that one of us undertakes an effort to write out what we think, sort of, synthesizing all of the discussions that's happened up till this point, and say, here's what we're looking for, and then we could circulate that document prior to our next meeting, and then we can discuss it and say, yes, this is what we want, and we could charge Mr. Milano at that point with going to either find somebody who could do this training, or a draft code of conduct, or both of those things, or something else.
The code of conduct piece, I think, is a little bit of an easier lift in the sense that there are other communities that have them. There are different versions we can take from and consider. We have our own policy packet that has components of codes of conduct kind of spread throughout it, but not necessarily in one place. So I think that is a little bit of an easier exercise to pull together. It's the training piece, and the other element is like, who is the audience? So just those are the kind of considerations I just want to keep in mind. And obviously we can work with Mr. Ferris as well to pull that together. But
maybe that's the key point that we should possibly discuss. I think code of conduct makes sense, something we can find and put together. As we asked about training, if we're thinking about audience, who would be there and how would it be delivered, right? We have these virtual trainings that we all go through from time to time about different things. Is this something that we're looking to do virtually? And is it just the select board that we would like in this training? Are we asking other electeds? I see how that can be really confusing to put together. Is how many people are we expecting to go through this training? Drives through the cost.
Yeah.
And it's also, are we asking for this to be a one-time training? Are we asking for this to be 6 months, a year? Do you do it at the beginning of your term, or if you're reelected in some space? Is it just the smaller boards? Is it something we're trying to extend to town meeting members? In terms of training, how big do we want that to be?
Well, what we discussed at our offsite, right, was that a lack of civil discourse is a risk to just proper town governance decision making, right? It's felt on this board, it's felt on other boards, it's certainly felt at town meeting. I mean, I do think it's a good idea, to both of your point, that we figure out how we do proper refining of the problem statement, the problem that we're trying to solve, and then understand the options for the scope and breadth. I think that's what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of ways we can go with civil discourse training.
Yeah.
If that is something that, is it something that we have to get voted on? Or if we said, if it's just the select board, then 4 of us, perhaps a new member, 5, take the civil discourse training, does that have the impact that we would want across all of our conversations? If we try to make it a townwide policy, where we've been discussing this before, if we're talking about in terms of that our electeds at all levels should have some form of onboarding, where you are onboarded, you get the code of conduct, you get an idea of sort of what town government is, who does what, and then do you also have to go through this virtual civil discourse training before your first town meeting, right? And that's something we have to talk to the moderator. We'd have to see if folks are okay with that, where before you walk in the town meeting and you take that microphone, you take that vote, there's an understanding that we as electeds have a responsibility in the way that we govern ourselves, in the way that we speak with each other. Right.
So I also, so this is triggering a thought for me, that if we go and ask the rest of town government to participate in this, we would have to do it first ourselves.
Yeah, I don't think any of us would have an issue with that.
I know.
Oh well, I think we're all
we're the ones starting.
So I thought where you're going with that, Ms. Egerty, is my thought was we probably ought to ask the other elected boards their thoughts on this and get them in so that we understand, because if there is no interest from other boards, or indeed if there is hostility from other boards on this topic, it might dictate one course, whereas if other boards are open for this, we could potentially take another. So in terms of actions, it seems like we could today we could ask for a code of conduct to review prior to our next meeting, that we could come to that with our thoughts and suggestions and edits, and ideally vote on it. And at the same time, we could task Mr. Milano with reaching out to the other elected boards and our town moderator with these questions of, if we put this together, A, are you interested? B, what would you like to achieve? And C, who should be participating in it?
Okay.
We should probably also have a statement of what this says, because if we just send Mr. Milano out to ask, hey, are you interested? They might be like, what is this? So we would need to develop something for him to point to as a statement.
As to how we see a civil discourse training, like what that would be.
General theme.
I don't disagree with that. I do feel like Mr. Milano sat in on a few of these discussions at this point, so he could probably represent it pretty well in terms of like what our overall aims are. But I'm sorry, Mr.
And I am comfortable with that. Yeah.
Do you feel like you could?
In terms of what the overall goal is, yes.
Okay. Good.
All right. I was going to offer to write it, but you got
Okay. Spoke too soon.
We'll see.
Because we did start this meeting with you asking us to clarify, so I didn't know.
In terms of what the overall goal is, I have in terms of what the training actually does and it's on, I think is the details that are a bit trickier.
Does that sound like a good next step?
Yeah.
I don't think we need any motions on that, but and then, all right. So any further discussion on that topic? Why don't we go to something light and like the Randolph Road Diet Pilot? Topic number 7, Mr. Milano.
I'm going to recuse myself.
Oh yes, please, Ms. Hegarty.
To avoid the appearance of a conflict of interest.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the residents know, the Randolph Ave Road Dial Pilot was implemented by MassDOT. Friday was the first day. There were cones kind of separating the lanes to create a single lane in both directions. That was then made more permanent over the weekend, and Monday morning striped. And then this morning, some of the delineators appeared in a couple of locations that separate the road in the median. We've been in touch with MassDOT over the past couple of days, just sharing some observations that we've had, been in touch with DPW and the police chief to share observations that we're seeing. Obviously, any comments can be directed to our office. MassDOT, through their website, has a dedicated project email. If you just go to mass.gov, and I think it's Route 28 Road Diet Pilot, But if you Google it, you'll come to their landing page with additional information as well as a project contact. And I know they've been responsive through that project email, through emails that I've seen coming back. And, we're paying attention to what impacts are appearing elsewhere around town, and on that corridor. It has been certainly slow in the mornings heading north, and in the evenings heading home. There are a number of town employees who travel that commute, so we talk about it in the building. But it is day two, and we're continuing to see and observe the impacts of that. The travel speeds are certainly slower, which was one of the goals, but we know the impacts of that was congestion and potentially spillover congestion elsewhere around town, and we're continuing to observe that.
Questions or thoughts from the members? I see Mr. Wells has his hand up. Mr. Wells. You're still on mute, Mr. Wells.
You muted.
Just trying to put my hand down. So I'm just going to follow up a little bit. Both Senator Driscoll's office and my office have been deluged with emails over the past few days. One thing I want to say to people is very important. I did talk to Deputy Chief Albert today. First thing, from a operational point, to Mr. Milano, I understand MassDOT has removed the morning do not enter 7 and 9s of both Reed Street and Randolph, and Allen and Randolph. I went and looked. I understand the Howland one because you can't take a left there anymore. I understand that one. But the Reed Street one, and one resident I spoke to today, I had talked previously about this, the congestion, particularly bleed off into the side streets, would be significant. So to remove the one at Reed and 28, that is a vote. There was, both of those were recommended by a traffic commission, approved by this board, and acted by this board. So I will reach out to Dan Fielding tomorrow. I'm not sure why they took that one out. I think that one still needs to be in play.
And Mr. Wells, I did share that with MassDOT today. We did look at the plans. The plans show the sign staying. So the 100% design plans have that sign at Reed. So whether it was removed by district staff mistakenly or then it was done intentionally, we don't know, but the plans show it in place. So we did follow up with MassDOT today about that, but your office following up will help that move that along as well.
So following up, because that's important. Following up, and I say I'm going to use this opportunity to say this because so many people have reached out. One was very happy tonight. I was glad to hear that one. Loves it. This is going to take a lot of patience. You don't become the most dangerous road in the Commonwealth overnight. This has taken years for this situation to exacerbate itself to the level that collectively, municipally, and from the state level, we've partnered with MassDOT to try and create a solution. While the pilot is exactly that, a pilot, it's not a perfect. There is no magic wand here. This isn't Dorothy in the Wizard of Oz. Click my heels 3 times and let's go home and this will be all over. And the other thing that I want to say is you don't run traffic management on Facebook. And I don't usually ever speak to Facebook, but I'm going to be very direct in this tonight. You can't go out and be Jimmy Olsen, the cub reporter, and ride around and say, I've got Lois Lane with me and report like it's accurate. And you have and I know Ms. Haggerty's not in the room, but we know where she works, what her background is. There is an inordinate amount of work that's gone into trying to create a safer alternative to the dangerous situation that exists on 28, particularly between Chickatawbut and Reach. And I only ask that residents and people who use it are going to have to be patient. Because I don't want to see any more people die there. I personally, you've heard me say this before, I'm not here to preach. I've been to too many fatals there on that street myself, and I've been retired for 7 years. So please just bear with us. I'm sure this will take some type of tweaking, but I'm appreciative to the time and effort MassTOT has brought to this in such a short period of time. Let's give this a chance and let's see how this works. The last thing that any of us wants is another fatality, another life lost in this section. I know I preached a little bit there, Mr. Chair, and I apologize, but I felt it was very important given all the emails and things. We put so much into making this happen and getting MassDOT to the table and make such a very quick plan and initiative that I don't want to just beat them up right away. They are trying to make a very dangerous situation safer. And I thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wells. Mr. Daly, thoughts or questions?
I'm just going to underline what Mr. Wells just said. We knew this would be a difficult transition, particularly the first few days, weeks, and months with traffic, with change. None of this was done flippantly. This has taken years to get changes made to this road. The intention is that we leave this at the end with a much safer pathway and commute, although it may be difficult in the beginning. We get the emails. We may not respond to all of them, but we are taking everyone's notes, sending those to MassDOT, taking those within ourselves, within our working groups. We will be out with the residents when they're still in the construction phase as well. This is not in any way finalized. And I will say, as Mr. Wells said, please bear with us. Please understand the amount of work and analysis that has been put into this road diet happening, which is why it has taken so long. It is not easy to get the state to come out and change an entire road. So this was intentional. This is a serious undertaking, and we are listening and reviewing everything that is being said. So at the end of this, we have something that really works for our residents and something that is much safer and a better way to travel here now.
Thank you, Mr. Daly. Well, I won't beat the dead horse there, but I do agree 1,000%. Patience is required. I think roads are a funny thing. The bigger they are, the more cars tend to drive on them, and the traffic just tends to get worse. And it's not easy to undo sort of 20th century thinking processes around infrastructure. And that being said, this is not an academic experiment. This is informed people who do this for a living, and God bless them that is their life's mission, is to try to help people get to places safely and quickly, and they don't expect to make millionaire wages doing it. So we have to let this play out a bit. Sudden change like this is going to take a while for the Wazes and the taxi drivers and everybody else, the commuters who are used to using this route. It's going to take a while for it to figure out. It doesn't mean that it's an academic experiment. It's not an academic experiment for people who have lost friends and family on that street or have been impacted by the terrible crashes that have happened there. That said, Mr. Milano, you and I spoke a bit today. The one area where I'm particularly concerned about is, in terms of the spillover traffic and the side streets. I know we're all concerned about that. Is there an opportunity or a way for Milton Police, and I know you were going to talk to Chief King about this before our meeting, to potentially step up enforcement, for the safety of the spillover streets?
Yes, and the department has been increasing patrols in that area and will continue to do so in terms of specific enforcement on roads that we see appear to be affected by a bit more traffic. More cars itself is not necessarily violations, so they might not be breaking laws by traveling on those roads, but it's certainly something that the department's aware of and working on, and will be certainly out there in the next few days and the next few weeks to observe that. And I'll just note, and kind of tying to that, is that prior to implementation, MassDOT did do traffic counts on essentially all of the streets that come on or off of Randolph Ave. So that pre-implementation data is really fresh. So as we meet and review with MassDOT, we'll be able to see and have them run additional counts to see what that impact is and where are we seeing it more than just the anecdotal. Let's follow what the data shows us. So we'll have both those pieces to build upon.
Thank you, Mr. Milano. And then just a final question for you, and we've talked about this, the timeline for MassDOT sort of giving us, obviously they're not going to have a lot of real clarity on what's happened in 3 days, but can you give us a quick sense of when they'll be coming back to us and when, sort of that sort of, I know this is a 6-month horizon, so we're really just at the start of this, but when we'll see them next and what we can expect.
We haven't invited them into a specific meeting. We could certainly do that if the 21st makes sense and we can gauge from them in terms of what that conversation will look like and what that would be 2 full weeks of implementation. Our next meeting date on the books right now is not until November 18th. So now that pushes it almost a full month after that. So I could engage with MassDOT, see if that would make sense to have just a preliminary conversation about impacts, report some of the comments that we're hearing and what they've seen so far, if that would be something the board's interested in.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that would make sense.
Okay.
And, if they feel like they really won't have anything for us substantively and they want to save themselves the drive to keep our streets nice and clear, they could give us something written perhaps for that meeting and then come in person with more data in November. But it would certainly be great to hear something from them, whether it's in person or by report.
Okay.
By that date. Does that make sense, Mr. Daly? Mr. Wells, are you okay with that?
I am, Mr. Chairman, and to their credit, Dan Fielding is doing a great job of posting updates and disseminating them both to our office and to towns and for residents so that they can see, what is taking place. The good news is there hasn't been any accidents since they started. So that's one positive light.
Thank you, Mr. Wells. And I agree. I do believe, this has been something that's been bubbling for a decade, and I'm so pleased that we've been able to get DOT relatively quickly. I think it was July where we had that last double fatality accident, which was kind of the straw.
Triple.
Was it? Triple, that's right, my God.
It was a triple failure.
Yeah,
Yes.
triple.
Yeah.
There was 2 in the one car and then 1 in the other. So, I think to their credit, this is moving really, I don't want to say quickly in a glib sense because there's a ton of thought and expertise that went into this plan. And, in the general scope of things, they've moved very quickly. So we're grateful to them for that. Okay, so I think that may conclude unless there's any final thoughts there. I might ask if I could take a quick break. In fact, I'm the chair, so I'm just going to say let's take a quick break, and then we'll resume with our select board retreat recap.
Just declare a recess.
I will declare a recess.
Second.
Thank you and welcome back. I will return us from recess back to the October 7th meeting of the Milton Select Board. The next item we have, Mr. Milano's Select Board retreat recap. We kind of previewed this a little bit earlier, but do you want to give us a little rundown of where we are and the timing for things?
Yes, thank you. So the board's retreat was on Sunday afternoon. We discussed a number of items, and we are consolidating a list of some of the action items the board had identified to make a list for kind of feedback and fine tuning. So I have an initial draft that the facilitator, Jeff Nutting, had drafted that I worked on a bit. So we'll be able to circulate that between now and the next meeting and try to make sure we've captured what we heard and then let the board deliberate it publicly before approving the list of goals.
Okay. Unless there's any comments, I think we can move to the next item.
Do we
Yes, Mr. Daly.
intend, or is it, do we intend to post these goals once we've
Sorry, give me 1 second.
had a chance
You might.
to look at them?
Oh yeah, it looks like we're muted on the.
Oh, are we all muted?
Yeah. Good job, Nick.
Good catch.
We just told all the secrets of the select board, so you'll have to tune in some future time. So just, do you want to even do a quicker recap of your recap that you've just given us?
Sure. The board at the retreat discussed a number of potential goals. We are putting together that preliminary list to make sure we've captured everything right. We'll share it for the board's review ahead of deliberation and potential approval at our next meeting on the 21st.
And then to Mr. Daly's question, which was, will those be posted?
Yes, we would. So kind of in two steps. First, our packet would be posted prior to the meeting on the 21st. That'll include the latest draft version that we have. And then once the final version is approved, we'll post those on the town select board webpage.
Yeah, and I might just add my own comment, which is that I'm sorry that it took us so long to get to that retreat. We were trying to set something up in June, couldn't find a date. Then obviously there's been some disruption among the members, but I just, for future iterations of the board, I think it's so critical to get those retreats in as quickly as possible. New select board members and returning select board members are sort of immediately thrown into the cauldron of the town election is on, Tuesday, then the town meeting starts the following Monday. And so there's very little runway time to that initial bit. And so thinking both about the onboarding for select board members, but also ensuring that early on in the tenure of, particularly for new members, they have an opportunity to articulate goals and their thoughts. I think that's just really important. So future select board chairs take note. And I own the fact that we didn't do ours until October. Okay, so Mr. Milano, number 10, change the board of directors at Milton Fuller Housing Corporation doing business as Fuller Village.
Yes, thank you. Both this and item 11 are some paperwork updates from Fuller Village for their liquor license. They have 2 liquor licenses on site there. The first is just to update to reflect the current list of the board of directors. So they submitted that to us. And the second is to change their manager to properly identify the executive director, Molly Welch, who is their designated manager for purposes of their liquor license that they report to both the town and to the ABCC. So 2 documents, both need to be approved, and they'll be submitted to the ABCC for further approval, but they just reflect the current iteration of the board of directors for Fuller Village, and then their active manager at Fuller Village.
So I'll take a motion on this unless anyone has questions. The first one there.
I would like to make a motion to approve the change to the board of directors at Milton Fuller Housing Corp. DBA Fuller Village.
At the following location.
Oh, at the following location. Well, I thought that was for the liquor licenses. I thought we were.
It's the license carries for both locations.
Oh, okay. All right. And to approve the liquor license for 1399 Blue Hill Ave and the liquor license for 1372 Brush Hill Road.
Second.
Made and seconded. Mr. Milano, were those good for you for the motions?
Yep, we're reflecting the board of directors change. All good.
Okay. This will be a roll call vote. Mr. Wells.
Yes.
Ms. Hegarty?
Yes.
Mr. Daly?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Item 12.
We'll have to take item 11 now.
Oh, we have to take item 11 now.
It's 2 separate votes, 2 separate
Well, I feel like
submittals.
Okay. So then item 11, I'll take a second motion on that one.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve the change of manager at Milton Fuller Housing Corp. DBA Fuller Village. With the liquor license for 1399 Blue Hill Ave and the liquor license for 1372 Brush Hill Road.
Second.
Got the thumbs up from Mr. Milano. Any further discussion? This is a roll call vote. Mr. Wells?
Yes.
Ms. Hegarty?
Yes.
Mr. Daly?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Now, for the big breaking news, we have a warm copy of the town warrant. Mr. Milano.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. The warrant committee completed their work last week. Appreciate the efforts that they put in to finalize their recommendations. Bless you. And
Bless you.
to write their comments. So upon the board's, what the board's being asked tonight is to approve the warrant. So all the articles that are within it and the manner in which they appear. The warrant committee's recommendations are also enclosed with it. This is with the printer now, and we expect delivery to hit by the end of this week. So we'd be looking for the select board to approve the warrants and approve it for posting.
I'll take a motion on that if anyone would like to make.
This one. Where's that? Okay, I move to approve the special town meeting warrant, index and greeting pages dated October 27th, 2025.
That's good.
A second.
Made by Mr. Daly, seconded by Ms. Hegarty. Any further discussion? Mr. Wells. We'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Wells.
So yes, Mr. Chair, I am voting yes on A, B, C, D, E, F, H, and I, and I vote no on G.
Sorry, Mr. Wells. We're just voting on the approval of the, not for the
Index
individual.
page, on the index page?
Yeah, the index,
What are we voting?
the welcoming
Okay, yes,
remarks,
yes.
not the individual articles.
Yes.
That's right. And Mr. Milano's confirmed that. So Mr. Wells is a yes. Ms. Hegarty,
Yes.
Mr. Daly,
Yes.
and myself, yes.
So I need to go back to 12?
So we are done with 12, I think. Yeah.
On the warrant, yeah.
On the warrant.
The board is welcome to discuss the articles if you'd like. We can discuss them at a future meeting, discuss them before town meeting. I'll just for the warrant committee has voted to approve them all as they appear. They have one additional edit in the alcohol in town land one, which is article number 7. They have approved a recommendation that differs pretty significantly from the article for article number 8, which is like trespass. So that's one we might want to spend a couple more minutes talking about potentially at our future meeting. And I think Mr. Wells was pointing out his concerns with one of them, which is article 7, I believe, if I heard you right, Mr. Wells.
That's correct. Well, it's G, yeah, so I'm looking at it. I'm just holding my.
Yep.
We're open for this.
My,
Go ahead, Mr. Wells.
but we don't have to do it now. We can do it at a future meeting, Mr. Daly. I've already echoed my concerns, both to Mr. Milano and to the warrant committee chair.
Okay. And that, I'm guessing that your qualms are with the additions from the warrant committee. Is that it?
They actually made 2. I'm okay so much with the first one. The second one is unreasonable. It will not exist anywhere else in the town. It doesn't exist in any licensed premises we have. It exists in no liquor licenses that we give in private entities, and it does not exist for anyone who applies for a liquor license for indoor sale of alcohol on town properties. So I did, as Mr. Milano knows, I don't know what they were thinking, but it's more of an operational, ideological type of change to them and something that does not exist at all in this town. And that's my concern.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Wells. We are open for discussion if anyone has additional thoughts about that article or other articles. I will add my own just brief commentary on that. I think the alcohol on town land article is something that has gone through public hearings. We've had comment from a number of folks on both sides of this issue. I think when you have an article that both sides are kind of not thrilled about, it tends to be a good compromise. But I'm sure that we'll have a lot of time to discuss this at town meeting. But I don't know that it makes sense for us to delve into it too much. On the lighting bylaw changes, I would like to review what the warrant committee has done here myself a bit further before I comment on them. I was before the warrant committee that last week, I think it was last week, to discuss this. And I know that their general feelings on this were that it blended both a light trespass element as well as a nuisance element. And they were concerned that we were, and what do they call that? Dark skies provision. So I think that they were trying to limit the scope a little bit more there. But I have to admit that I haven't read through their final version yet, although I did speak to the warrant committee chair on Friday. So those are my quick comments on those. And I will add at the very end of my comments that I do believe it's possible for us to get this done in one day. I do believe it. I think that I know that there's strong feelings on a couple of these, but I think that as a town, I think we can tackle 9 articles in one night, and I hope that we will. Not for the sake of expediency itself, but for the sake of really just good and efficient town government.
I would ask for some more time as well to look at some of the updates from the warrant committee. One on the light trespass, the new committee of 3. I wonder how that would be assembled, given the discussion we had about if it comes back to select board, if it goes to the appeals or the folks that are handling other licensing. So I think that's for perhaps another night with some more time.
Yeah.
The alcohol and town land, I think that just deserves a little bit more space because we've gone
For
back
sure.
with that, back and
For
forth
sure.
with that often. So yeah, I think maybe
So
our next meeting we can address this.
We have our meeting on the 21st, which is prior to the town meeting, so we can perhaps have a more robust discussion of some of the articles there. I will say that I know that the committee of 3 individuals appointed by the select board for the appeals process was the attempt by the warrant committee to continue to have an appeals committee and to not require it to be the select board. So I know that was the basis for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's probably a wise idea to come back on the 21st with some more substantive discussions.
Yeah, that's.
Okay.
Ms. Haggerty, do you have? I mean, you're welcome to make more comments or thoughts here. Okay. So we've approved the warrant. We've discussed it. So we'll move on to discussion update report of the Milton Budget Coordination Committee. And I guess I'm turning over to my fellow members that are in person here for this, or Mr. Milano?
No,
Ms. Haggerty
is the chair.
Ms. Haggerty is
Defer to
the
her.
chair of.
If she wants to
The
kick it back to me,
chair
fine.
So
of the Milton Budget Coordination Committee. So we had a successful second meeting last Friday where we went around to each member of the committee and just members in attendance to identify what the definition of success was for everyone. In a nutshell, folks are coming to the table to look at broader trends, higher level with the town to provide more transparency into our financial situation. And we committed to meeting again in the next couple of weeks. We spent a lot of time in that meeting with this discussion. We had wanted to get through the high-level overview of the 5-year plan, 5-year forecast, and we're going to be convening. Mr. Milano, I forget what the reconvene is. It the 7th? No,
17th.
the 17th, right?
A week from Friday, 17th.
So we're going to be reconvening on the 17th to review that and to also just orient ourselves toward the roles that that the various committees are going to be playing on the committee. We also had a robust discussion on the budget calendars, which I think is going to be a useful product. So our vice chair, Leroy Walker, took a pass at putting everybody's budget calendar in one place, which I don't know if we've had that as a document in recent years. But it brought about like a pretty good discussion of when different groups are thinking about the budget and sort of the sequencing of filing items. So we are off to a good start. We're refining our approach and the products that we're looking to develop. I don't know if I'm missing anything.
I would add that
Yep.
the word from our last meeting is institutionalized.
Yes.
Meaning everyone was very
Mhm.
adamant about institutionalizing knowledge and procedures so that regardless of who sits on what board, this is part of what the calendar is, that everyone knows or is aware of the roles that each group plays in the budget process. When who is reviewing what's the deadline from the schools, what's the deadline from the warrant committee, when do things go in front of the select board, also the understanding that the select board is constantly meeting in our finance committee, and that's an expectation as well. And also knowing when do folks have input, when do you ask questions, and also in the 5-year plan, the big thing that we discussed was looking ahead at needs and understanding what may be
Right.
coming down the pipe, and that everyone has an understanding when they're going through our numbers and our budget, that is not just for this one year, that we're looking ahead. And it's not to step on Mr. Milano. I think it's to make his job perhaps a little easier in his coordination with all the boards, that everyone has an understanding of their role and the expectations of them from the town.
I think
Great.
I would add
Mr.
that
Milano, yes.
what I have found interesting about this is, like, on the one hand, it's of course we have a calendar, but on the other hand, this is raising and showing the importance of just communicating that,
Right.
sharing it publicly, and have it be part of something that's memorialized. And it really is about assigning tasks so people know when things are due. So I found that helpful. And the other thing, just we've talked about a budget summit with the school committee and the warrant committee and the select board together. So I'll be following up just to coordinate dates, to find a date to get all of those groups together in a room big enough to hold us, to have just an intro conversation of the budget year, and just to do it together with everybody. So that's one of the other things that we talked about a bit, is putting on that calendar, but now we got to find a date to do so.
So there's that, and our reserves policies.
Yes.
That are being worked on.
Yes.
That are going to be crucial for our path forward, and keeping us on stable footing, especially over the next few years as we manage what we've got from the override and making sure that we're rebuilding our reserves going forward and not drawing everything down.
Well, I don't have any questions immediately, but I think this is such important and critical work, and so I really thank both of you and all of the members of the committee for putting this effort in.
We have a great cross section of people from town hall and from the various elected and appointed boards and committees.
I'm just really delighted to hear that. So congratulations on your appointment as chair and for your first report out. So we look forward to hearing more from this group. I'm guessing that in terms of both that calendar and some of these documents and ideas are going to be important for us to communicate out to the sort of town more broadly. So having a dedicated page maybe for this committee. I don't know if that's happened already. I haven't perused our town website recently.
The committee has a page. It's not yet populated with information, but
Okay.
that was
We're working on product.
Okay. Yep. No pressure. No
that was
time
definitely the
pressure,
other
but
theme.
We're
was
forming.
communication.
Okay,
The team
great.
is forming.
Yeah, I appreciate that very much. I have no further questions on that. Mr. Wells, I don't see your hand up, so I'm guessing that we're good to go. Mr. Milano, to item 14, East Milton Fire
I'm all
Station.
set.
Thank you, Mr. Wells. East Milton Fire Station RFP envisioning session.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're working with MAPC to hold that. We've targeted the date of November 10th, but we should be able to announce that publicly and officially this week, and then we'll start sharing that and advertising it to invite folks out to that to talk about the future of the East Milton Fire Station property.
Mr. Wells.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I just want to retouch back on this, and I've listened. I listen intuitively, especially when members start talking about the need for dollars and additional revenues and reserves. I just want to go back to this because for Member Daley and Member Haggerty, they were not here when we first talked about selling this. I know that I believe Chair Walsh from the Fire Station Building Committee has already been in to voice his strong support for selling it. It's a unique piece of property. There isn't a lot to do with it. My concern is, I'm sure some of the members have seen, and this happens, we don't manage the town on Facebook, but there have been a lot of posts about, we'll save the fire station, do this and that, blah, 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 blah. I go back to, and I'm not being disrespectful, I want Miss Haggerty to get home and get to sleep the reason why. Again, to my initial point that I made a couple of weeks ago, we did go to town meeting to borrow $1 million when we bought the property, where the new engine 2 is going to, East Milton Station is going to be housed, with the assurance to the town meeting that we would return. My second point is, as we know from you and I, Mr. Chair, know because we were the only two left here, we did put out an RFQ. Is that what it was? Did we put an RFQ or an RFP, Mr. Milano?
Request for expressions of interest. I'm
Yeah,
not sure the
express-
So an
acronym. but-
RFI?
Yeah,
No, that's an
RFI.
request for information.
Right. So we do know there is commercial interest in it. Is it going to be, I don't think it could be a housing or resident. It just doesn't have pipe, but there is a commercial value to it. And I just reiterate this at this point because, Mr. Milano, when you consider these visioning sessions, people can have a wide variety of ideas. The important thing to remember here is that we have an asset where I'm not usually an advocate for selling assets, but to me, I gave my word. I intend to fight for that. I do live in East Milton, so I get it, but they are getting a brand new facility. And as Ms. Haggerty just said in a roundabout way, but I believe she'll agree with me, is that every dollar we can get, each and every dollar that we can recoup, we don't get a lot of opportunities for commercial dollars here. We need to capitalize on it. We're never going to have a social plaza. We're never going to have a legacy place. I don't think we'll ever have a Whole Foods, highly unlikely, but this is a building that will remain because of its historic significance. The outer look will look, the frame will have to remain, but to try and keep it with the work that it needs so far, I think I think that when we get to this vision, I for one, intend to reiterate to my residents, neighbors, our residents, neighbors, not ours, exactly this. This is a situation where we needed to find out. It took years, as you heard me say, both Mr. Zoll and Mr. Daly, when we went to groundbreaking. It took years to find the location that they finally got to put one. I don't know if for a long time, I never thought we would get into fire stations. So that's just, I want to reemphasize this because before we start to get on a road that, we're looking at a multitude of possibilities here. This is a limited structure, but it does have commercial value, I think. And we did borrow that $1 million, and I just don't want to lose sight of that. So I'm sorry I was long-winded on that one. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Wells. Other thoughts?
I would add on to what Richard has just said. I've been sent and I've seen some of the discussion about the town keeping it, refurbishing it, changing into something else. And it's not that it's impossible, it's that does come with great expense to the town potentially. It is a very unique building, having been a fire station. The floor is very unique. What's under the floor is very unique. And so the town management of it would be particularly arduous, I think, in the long run. So we're not saying no, we are saying it is very difficult and improbable. And part of this visioning is seeing what is possible and what is best. And I think all of us on this board, we very rarely walk in here with just one idea in mind. And we are willing to work through the issues, which is why we're starting with the visioning. We're not going to make any decisions without input from the town. And I'm sure the residents and everyone else would also hear our feelings on what's possible for that location as well.
Agree. I mean, I think that, if we do end up selling the property, it will be valuable for us to understand from the residents who live nearby and from the residents who live around town what type of commercial use we would like to see in that spot. I think that's very valuable feedback. And yeah, I just generally agree with everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Hegarty. I don't have much to add. I think Mr. Wells said most of what I feel as well. Only that I think that I won't meander on that one. I have nothing further to say, but I'm glad that we've got that scheduled for November 10th. And I think if folks are interested in that, please attend. Please write us and ask questions. We're always happy to respond. No further discussion. We'll go to item 15.
We need to approve it.
Oh, do we need to approve the visioning session?
Nope.
No.
We're good.
So 1-day liquor license. Does anybody feel like making a motion on this one?
Yes, move to approve the 1-day liquor license for the Mary May Binney Wakefield Arboretum at 1465 Brush Hill Road on October 18th, 2025 from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. for October Family Fest.
I'll second.
Made by Mr. Daly, seconded by Ms. Hegarty. Any further discussion? I will just add, if you haven't been to this Arboretum, it is really a gem in Milton. It's gorgeous. And I went for the first time a couple of years ago, and I've been back a few times since then. I was stunned. I didn't know that it was there, and it's a real jewel that we have in town. So, barring any further discussion, we will go to a roll call vote on this. Mr. Wells.
Yes.
Ms. Hegarty.
Yes.
Mr. Daly.
Yes.
And myself, yes. We now have item 16, discussion approval application to use Manning Park by the Milton Chamber of Commerce, 555 Adams Street, for the Halloween stroll and holiday stroll and tree lighting. Any discussion about this, or shall we go to a motion?
Make a motion, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
All right. Move to approve the applications to use Manning Park by the Milton Chamber of Commerce, 555 Adams Street for the following events. The Halloween stroll, Saturday, October 25th, 2025 from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. The holiday stroll and tree lighting, Saturday, December 6th, 2025, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m.
Second.
Made by Mr. Daly, seconded by Ms. Hegarty. No further discussion.
One point, Mr.
Yes,
Chair.
Mr. Wells.
Sorry, just for Mr. Milano, can we please, we've discussed this repeatedly. Let's get those permanent planters in place. I think we took a vote on this, so we didn't want to approve anymore. I looked at what we did for the back to business. It wasn't exactly what you need. I want to get those security measures in place, both on the post office side and the Adams Street and Granite side. We need to do that. So, sorry, Mr. Chair, I don't want to hop on this, but it's an important security aspect for protecting pedestrians, people in that park. So I want to make sure we get that done.
They were delivered at the end of last week. I believe DPW was installing either today or would be installing this week. So
could you give
they'll
us
be
a
in place.
written update maybe when they're
Yep.
installed?
Yep.
That would be wonderful. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry. Thank you. I just
no
wanted
problem
to
at all,
correct
Mr.
that.
Wells. It's an important point. But if there is no further discussion, we can move to a roll call vote. And Mr. Wells, I will go back to you.
Yes.
Ms. Hegarty.
Yes.
Mr. Daly.
Yes.
And myself, yes. Item 18, application from First Parish Milton, 535 Canton Ave, to use the town green Baron Hugo gazebo on Sunday, October 26, 2025, from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. for trunk or treat with the First Congregational Church. I'll take a motion on this one unless there's any discussion.
That sounded like a motion. If that was a motion, I'll second it.
All right, I'll make that a motion. I don't usually do it, but it's fine. Seconded by Mr. Wells. This will be a roll call vote. Mr. Wells.
Yes.
Ms. Haggerty.
Yes.
Mr. Daly.
Yes.
And myself, yes.
Just thinking of you, Miss Haggerty.
Thank you.
We just got to.
It looks like you're about to go to bed, you know.
No. I have a lot of work to do. I have
Okay.
a busy day tomorrow, too.
Mr. Milano, you had something
item
on the
17.
minutes. Item
Yeah, we
missed
I missed item 17 somehow.
Yeah.
Don't
Don't tell Scott Farrell.
I'll take a motion because I apparently made it the last time by reading the agenda
All right.
item.
Discussion to approve the application to use the town green gazebo, Baron Hugo gazebo by First Parish Milton on Sunday.
No, we did that one.
That's 17. Sorry, I skipped
Did we
ahead.
skip
Yeah.
17?
Yeah.
The number 17.
I was reading 17.
No, you were reading 18.
Yes.
He's
somehow-
reading
Do
my
we-
17.
Do we have
What number-
separate
Oh,
copies?
yeah.
Yeah, it's,
We have it
it's
backwards.
read
It's actually
18.
18.
It's
Sorry.
Okay,
moved
18.
around.
All right.
We
Okay.
got it back.
Move to approve the application to use Manning Park from Scott Farrell of the Milton Chamber of Commerce, 17 Mark Crest Drive, the holiday light installation and display November through December.
Second.
Made by Mr. Daly, seconded by Mr. Wells. Further discussion? Mr. Wells,
Yes.
Ms. Haggerty,
Yes.
Mr. Daly,
Yes.
and myself, yes.
Sorry for the
No,
confusion.
that's my
That's all
fault.
right.
Thank you.
I still don't
Now I
understand
think
what
we're at
happened.
item 19.
Yes, now we are.
Oh,
And so
okay.
we have a discussion and approval of meeting minutes. Was everybody here for each of those?
18th and 25th. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And 26th. Yep.
Well, this one from 2205, I don't know that any of us were here for. 200 years in the future.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
I'll take a motion on this one.
I was not at the 18th.
Okay, I'll take separate
I was out of
motions on this
state.
one.
Okay.
Right. Motion to approve the meeting minutes from August 18th. Mr. Wells did not attend.
Second.
Okay, made by Mr. Daly, seconded by Ms. Haggerty. This will be a roll call vote. Mr. Wells?
He's out on that one.
Abstain.
Yep, Ms. Haggerty?
Yes.
Mr. Daly?
Yes.
And myself, yes.
All right. Move to approve the meeting minutes dated August 25th, 2025 and August 26th, 2025.
Second.
Made it.
Second.
And any discussion? Mr. Wells?
Yes. Yes.
Ms. Haggerty?
Yes.
Mr. Daly?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Town Administrator's Report. Mr. Milano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we talked about the special town meeting, but just as a reminder for town meeting members, it begins Monday, October 27th at 7:30 at the high school. Please put it in your calendar. If you have not, the warrant will be up on the website tomorrow, posted, and in the mail, and should be in mailboxes this week. We do have a number of board and committee openings that on our website. If you go to the board and committee page, the active openings are listed. In particular, the chair of the Historical Commission, Steve O'Donnell, asked me to plug the Historical Commission as one of particular fun. If you want to join that one, they're a good group. But the full list of openings is on our page. If you're interested, if you're not really sure what you'd like to serve in, reach out to our office and we can give you some guidance and give you some ideas. We did receive a liquor license application for the new restaurant at 10 Bassett Street under the name of Marbella. So we will be opening the public hearing for that liquor license application at the Select Board's meeting on October 21st. So the plan would be to open the public hearing, then take comments, and the board can choose to do at that point.
Richard's
But
got
we'll,
his hand up there.
and we'll be advertising that in the paper, and it'll be abutters will be notified as well for that. And Mr. Wells, I'll let you jump in.
Do you have
if
a
you'd
question, Mr. Wells?
I do. So just for both for Mr. Daly and Ms. Haggerty, because this is their first time going through this, unlike a new license application, what the applicant is applying for on this one is for an existing license, which was previously assigned to the Plate Restaurant. So it's an we'll be voting on, this won't require any House or Senate action. This is an existing license within the town, and it will only require our vote once we vote on it. It will be moved to, if it's approved, will move to the same location, but the new business.
Correct.
So is the owner the same?
No,
Okay.
The license
that's
has been
why we have to
returned.
do this.
The license has been returned to us. Now it's up to the select board to
Oh,
issue.
okay.
The board can only issue it to that specific location, but
Got
a
it.
new entity may apply for it, which is the case
Right.
here.
And even though, I mean, weren't the owners of the plate the same?
No.
They're not the
no,
same.
different
Okay.
owner.
This is the
Sorry.
owner of the fruit stand.
New ownership.
Got it.
group.
Got it. Okay.
If I may, Mr. Chair, just to follow up on that, so for both
Go ahead, Mr. Wells.
Daly and Ms. Agony, a similar situation exists at, am I right, Mr. Wells, 1 Elliott Street? We have not voted one, but a license was approved by the legislature for that location. And for that location only, but no one has applied to put it in use.
The Bank of America building.
The
No,
building
across
across
the
the
street.
street.
The, the
Yeah,
Fitness Unlimited
Muscle
building.
and flow.
Okay.
That is correct.
Well, I might go to Muscle.
Thanks, that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
Muscle and poor.
Two just fire station project updates related to East Milton fire station groundbreaking. We appreciate the fire station building committee for hosting, inviting us and others, and that was held last Friday. It made it into the Milton Times, so we're excited that that project is continuing to progress. And related, that the fire station building committee is really starting to work now on the third project, which is the Atherton Street Station for Engine 4. The committee is meeting October 14th, so we expect to take that discussion from the committee level up to the select board as well to map out what that process will be for getting that third project underway before voters, before town meeting as required, to make sure we finish the 3 fire station projects. And then I just wanted to note that with the new town council transition, that we've been in touch and meeting with Darren Klein from KP Law. He attended our department head meeting last week, so I had a chance to meet department heads. The first round of office hours will be next week, so folks will be able to sit with him and start working on items in earnest. We have the site view with Mass DEP tomorrow for the Lower Guile ongoing appeal. That'll be at Lower Guile with the hearing officer. That's at 10 a.m. tomorrow. And then just lastly, I just want to note that IT Director Rob Mallett's mother passed away a couple of weeks ago. The services are this week in South Carolina. There will be a service in November, I believe, at St. Agatha's. So condolences to Rob and his family. He is down in South Carolina for the week. And we know the impact that has on the family. So we just want to extend our condolences to Rob and to all his siblings and his father. So that concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Milano. For the chair's report, obviously extending our sympathies to Mr. Mallett. Also, Ms. Jean Darcy, who's our retirement director for the town, just lost her daughter, Erin, to cancer. And so we extend our sympathies and our condolences to that family as well. No one should have to lose a child to cancer. Yeah, it's just terrible. So our thoughts and our prayers are with her. We had, in other firefighter news, there was a fantastic fundraiser for firefighter Daniel Thomas this past weekend at Florian Hall in Dorchester. I know some of the members here went, and it was a really, I think, a great success. There was a huge turnout, and the speeches and there was a lot of emotion, but a lot of love in that room. So it was great to be a part of it. Also, on this past Saturday, there was the Mid-Autumn Festival that was organized by the Milton Asian American Pacific Islander Coalition. It was a great success. There was a number of people out there. There was free mooncake, which is always a bonus. So thank you to that group for pulling that together. And I know Connect Milton was also a part of that. So thank you to Connect Milton. And finally, I would be remiss if I didn't note that today is October 7th, which is the 2-year anniversary of Hamas massacre that began this latest round of fighting in Israel and Palestine, and just that peace comes with effort, and I hope that no one has a monopoly on grief. No one should have a monopoly on grief. There's so much grief to go around right now in that area. It's important for us to keep all of the folks who are grieving in our thoughts, and to continue to work for peace and the return of the hostages. I don't think that we need to go into too much more detail about that, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention that. I don't have any other items from the chair. Public comment response, I feel like we already addressed the library parking in detail. So moving on to future meeting dates, we have on our select board meeting, next one is October 21st. Then we'll have one on November 18th and December 2nd. Looking for, and December 16th. We will also be convening on the 27th of October for a special town meeting, and the 28th and the 29th if that is necessary. Any future agenda item suggestions from members? I think we had a couple from our discussions earlier, Mr. Milano. I don't know if anybody has anything else that they'd like to put on the agenda in the future. As always, it's my policy, and I think it should always be the policy of the select board, that any select board member that has a agenda item that they want to see on the agenda, it gets put on the agenda. So that remains my strong belief. Yes.
I think
Ms. Aguirre.
last meeting we discussed the potential for the Board of Health to present on their activities overall, and also to speak to the opioid settlement funds that are being administered. I don't know if
Yes, Caroline Kinsella and I had looked at dates. So
Okay.
I've given her our calendar, and I know
Great.
she provided me the date that worked for them. I don't remember off the top of my
Sure.
head.
But it's happening.
It's yes.
Yeah. Okay,
Great.
cool.
Okay, well, I'm going to steal this from you, Mr. Daly. I am going to then move to adjourn from open session and enter into executive session to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, Milton Clerical Unit of the Southeastern Public Employees Association, Milton Professional Management Association, Milton Public Employees Association, Milton Firefighters Local 1116, Milton Police Association, Milton Superior Officers, Milton Library Association. Based on my belief that discussion of this matter in open session may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the select board will not return to open session. Could I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Daly. This is a roll call vote. We'll start with Mr. Wells.
Yes.
Ms. Haggerty.
Yes.
Mr. Daly.
Yes.
And myself, yes. I'm going to move to adjourn from open session and enter into executive session to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, exchange, lease, or sale of value real property, I would imagine, Quarry Hills, based on my belief that the discussion of this matter in open session may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the select board. The select board will not return to open session.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Daly. This is a roll call vote. We've already lost Mr. Wells. So Ms. Haggerty,
Yes.
Mr. Daly,
Yes.
and myself, yes. And then, so I will move to adjourn. We've moved to adjourn.
Move to adjourn,
Yeah. So again, move to adjourn. We don't have Mr. Wells online anymore, so we can just do this vocally.
Second.
Yes, we need a second. And then all in favor?
Aye.
I am going to now call to order a meeting of the Governor Stoughton trustees. Now I will move to adjourn from open session for the Governor Stoughton trustees and enter into executive session to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, town farm, based on my belief that discussion of this matter in open session may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the Governor Stoughton Trust. The trustees of the Governor Stoughton Trust will not return to open session. Need a second?
Second.
This is a roll call vote. Ms. Haggerty,
Yes.
Mr. Daly,
Yes.
and myself, yes. I will move to adjourn.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining us.